preparing the ribs and drilling the horizontal stabilizer. Still September 1st. Doug, Charlie, and Dad are hard at work. And I'm just hoping that they don't cost me too much money in airplane parts. Update, we got DFR measuring 90-degree angles. And we got Nar cutting shit with the cutoff wheel. And Dad's watching, getting scared. So what Doug and Dad are, Doug basically made sure that all the ends on the ribs are 90 degrees, and now they're finishing breaking the edges on them, making it nice and smooth. What Charlie's working on was this little section of these two ribs in the spar, or in the horizontal stab, need to have a little section cut out so they fit. So Charlie,
that's professional right there.
Charlie has made a cutout in them, and now he's smoothing them out to make sure that pretty much the whole goal is to make sure that it fits in between there. So we had to take off just a little bit of material, but he's working on that. All right, well, that completes today. All my helpers left. It's still September 1st, and we are getting into drilling the horizontal stabilizer, but we are a little bit hung up on getting holes for these. These are the front ribs that attach to the front spar, so that piece is right there. So basically, this goes right here. Well, the only issue is it doesn't go in any of those three holes. It's actually a hole before that, and it doesn't go in those four holes. So there's essentially another line of holes that has to be right here. Well, they don't exactly tell you where those are. As far as the research I've done online shows, the best way to do it is get the rest of these ribs in and cleco them in place. Grab one of the skins, put it on there, and then slide these in to see exactly where they line up, and drill the holes through here for attaching those front ribs. So that'll be a project for maybe tomorrow. That's it for today, about 3 hours of work. Here we are, September 2nd, 2025. Back to work on our confusion from yesterday. We think we got it figured out. We're gonna send it. I just drew some reference lines in our ribs for where we're gonna rivet. So basically, we're gonna start working on getting ribs clecoed in. We're gonna put a skin on, and then we'll know where those two forward ribs go that they don't really give you instructions on. So we'll keep you updated on how that goes.
Alright guys, here's what we got going on. Ben's doing some research, but basically we got these guys clecoed in right here. We're trying to figure out where HS00006 goes. It's somewhere in this general vicinity, but we're gonna have to put the skin on and line up the holes and put that guy in there right there. So that's what's happening.
Here's our update. We are in the process of figuring out where exactly this rib goes and that one. And so far we've marked the center line where the rivet line should be on those. And and where the rivet line should be on this. Now that we got those center lines marked on the ribs, we are marking the center line on the spar because they only pre-drill or pre-punch the holes up to about here, these center holes. So we're gonna have to get the skin back on then and drill the rest of them. Okay, so the next step that we did was we marked a 1/4 inch up from here. That shows the vertical spacing of where those holes are gonna be for this front rib. And so we now have everything we need. We got the horizontal spacing drawn on there, the vertical spacing on there, the rivet lines marked on here, and the holes here. So we're gonna drill these, cleco this in place, and see where it lines up. Charlie's working on clecoing the rest of the skin in right now. We now have the horizontal stabilizer, the left skin clecoed in place, and these are the holes that we're going to drill first. So we have, you can see our black line that goes all along them. So we're basically going to hold the skin real still, center punch, and drill those to a number 40. So we're done drilling the holes in the forward spar that we're missing, both on the top and bottom. Now we have this clamped into place, and you can see our rivet line
drill that
right in that hole. We're gonna drill all those out, and that's kind of the position of the spar. And then for back here, you see the vertical and horizontal alignment, and that's gonna help us drill the holes into the doubler. To work on that. Now drilled through our rivet line, marked all that, and we've drilled out all those holes. They're clecoed, they look good on the edge distance. And so the front rib is done except for these. So we have to now, these are our 1/4 inch lines. So we have to extend that line onto this rib and drill the holes through there, into the spar, into the doubler, and then cleco that. All right, here's where we're at. We got that first hole drilled. We went up just a touch because this was close to minimum edge distance. So we gave it another 30-second about. And now we'll do the top one. They're both center punched. And yeah, so that'll go through this spar. It'll go, or this rib, the spar, the doubler, and then into the center rib. Okay, so now we have to take all these clecos out, take the skin off. And the part that we didn't do, which is cut that 45 out of there. Now we have the location of these holes in the spar. So basically, we need minimum edge distance at a 45-ish degree angle from there to there. Take a little chunk out so that when you put this rib in, that piece doesn't hit there. So that's what we're gonna do now. I've got the skin detached and deburred all these holes, deburred the ones in the skin. I gotta deburr these on the rib yet for the front rib. But basically the next step is marking that minimum edge distance from this hole and cutting that 45 degree-ish angle off with a cutoff wheel. Okay, well in the process of deburring, I noticed 2 other holes. Basically we got these 2 drilled. Those were kind of the confusion ones. There's 2 more, one there and one there, that it shows in here, so 7/16 from the top on that one, 1/2 inch from the bottom on that one. These are the two from the 1/4 inch that we already drilled. Basically, these two hold in the front rib, and the two behind it, or these two rather, along with these two hold in this center rib, which is right here. So that center rib will go there, and those are the two holes. Let's see if I can get it. These two holes we have drilled, and there will be another one right about there and another one down there for that center rib to go into. So I'm gonna get to work on measuring that out and get those drilled through the reinforcement, through the spar, and then the one on the bottom as well. All right, so 1/2 inch from the bottom on HS714. I measured up from there, extended this kind of rivet line from these lines, and then center punched that. And then this one was 7/16 from the top. I measured and center punched that. So I'll drill those to, let's see what it says. It says drill and assembly with ribs. I gotta find the actual rivet number. Let's see, they show it right here. AN 470 AD4-7, so number 4, that would be 30-bit. So I'll drill those out to number 30. Here we are, long story short, we made 2 left spars, didn't realize it until just now. So I'm ordering a new spar and a new doubler. This spar works and it fits. That's the end of it. It's September 2nd, and I'm gonna go home and order parts. All right, it's Wednesday, September 3rd. After yesterday's screw up, we're gonna try to get the left side of the horizontal stabilizer pretty much done. I ordered a new spar and doubler. I'll show you kind of what we screwed up. Okay, so here's the right spar and doubler. And pretty much what happened was at some point during assembly and reassembly, because they make you do it like 15,000 times, we swapped the doubler with the spar, and these holes are what screwed us up. We pretty much drilled these holes identical on the left and right, whereas they should be inverse of each other. So new spar and new doublers on order. First step, just like we did yesterday, is put the skin on and drill these holes that are missing. Basically extend this rivet line on the front spar, both sides, so we'll get started on that. Alrighty, the skin is all clecoed on. As you can see, the only holes that aren't drilled are, well, this where the center rib will go into here, but we can't do that yet because there's this 45-degree cut that we have to make right here to kind of protect it from that hole and this hole up here. So for now, what we're gonna do is we have a center line marked on our front spar. We're gonna match drill the holes through the skins into the front spar and do that on both sides. Then we'll uncleco everything. We'll know the minimum edge distance for this hole to make the cut, that 45-degree-ish cut. Then we can cleco it all back together and worry about the center rib. All right, here's where we stand. The front spar is now drilled, and the other thing we noticed was a hole at the end of the far rib on both sides, and so we drilled that, number 40. Looks like that's just one of the ones that they missed from punching at the factory. So now we're gonna uncleco the entire thing, We will deburr these holes, and then I'll take the spar off, the front spar, and cut that angle. Okay, we got this all marked up. Basically minimum edge distance from this hole on the forward spar, and then this will be an 1/8 inch bend radius around the corner at the base. So now I'm gonna take the cutoff wheel, cut along these lines on both sides of the front spar, and then we'll be ready to reassemble everything. Okay, we made the cuts, filed everything real nice, so it looks pretty good as of now. We're gonna put the skin on and then cleco, or at least clamp this rib into place and see how it looks, if everything fits properly. And if so, we'll drill the holes in the rib along our rivet lines. So on to that. Okay, it's all riveted together, and we have the center rib clecoed in place with these cleco clamps. And basically it's aligned there. The center line that we drew wasn't totally accurate.
Pretty close though.
It's pretty close. You can see it in that hole right there. So now we're gonna drill all of these, and then I'll drill through these holes into the forward, or the center spar rather. And we'll go from there. We'll see what's next. Guys, so the rib is all drilled out. The holes, all 4 of those holes are drilled. So they call for this one 7/16 from the top, and this one a 1/2 inch up, and then you basically just match drill into here. Now this looks like close to minimum edge distance, and I don't really like it, but it is according to the plans, so I don't think there's anything I can do about it. It's just a small piece. And then these 2 here look good. I got clecos in those. So we will see what the next step is. Okay, so I took the skin off. This is a little confusing. I should really flip this around before I mess up another part. This is the left side. So I took the skin off. And basically I've just been plugging away at the steps that I kind of went in a flow through. All of this stuff is pretty much what we were doing that it seemed like they wanted you to figure out. Now I'm finding out they do tell you, but it's not really in the right order of how things should go. So there is a little bit of discrepancy between some of the holes that they have, like holes, it says here, number 40. And what it's referring to is these holes, but I drilled them number 30. And I was like, oh crap, I might have messed up a bunch of parts again. But then I looked, and the rivets are AN4 7084-6, which would refer to a number 30 drill size hole. So I think that's a typo in the plans. Van needs to fix their stuff, but we're going to keep rocking along, and if we figure out something doesn't fit later on, we can go from there. Quick, the other things that I did do were these holes. I had the rear spar drilled to number 21. I drilled into the rib as well because the plans called out for that. Same thing here. These 3 holes are number 30 now. And these holes are number 30. These holes are number 30. They come pre-punched and these clecos fit, but they're not actually quite to number 30. So you just got to hit them with the drill bit and get them properly sized. But basically all that I did that wasn't on video was that and deburred the holes. So okay, so I'm at a point where I can kind of get back to following the plans exactly. Drill to final size or match drill all the remaining holes in the skin. And basically I already took the skin off. So since it says drill to final size, what I'm going to do is just, I know which holes are for the skin. I'm going to go down them and make sure they're number 40 on all of them. Then I'll grab the skin up there and I will go through with the drill bit on that rather than clecoing the skin back on with all those clecos and drilling them through. It fits just perfectly. So I'm not too worried about having the skin on while I do it. All the holes are already punched. If we were making new ones, I'd want to have the skin on. But at this point, we are pretty much going through and final size drilling. So I'll grab a number 40 bit and start doing that. And then I'll do the skin. And then the next step is going to be removing the skin, which we're going to have off, and final size drill or drill the remaining holes in 714, 710, and the doublers, and then remove them. So basically, you can see there's holes right there and holes right there that'll need to be final size drilled. And again, they called out number 40 in the plans, but the rivet that they use for these will not fit through a number 40. So they're number 30 according to the rivet size. So I'm going to drill the rest of those to number 30. And then, unfortunately, I think we might be waiting for our spar. That completes all the final size drilling for the skins, the rivets that go through the skins into the spars and ribs. So those are all drilled to size now. I'll have to deburr them, but I'll worry about that later on. For now, I'm gonna get started on finishing up the rest of these holes that aren't match drilled. They need to be drilled through into the front spar and sometimes, dependent on the hole, into the reinforcements to number 30. So I'll do that now. All right, I went ahead and unclecoed these front ribs or inboard ribs to get a better view at this. So basically the holes I just drilled are all those. So those are match drilled to number 30. And then I noticed these ones still need to be drilled, so I'm gonna get those done. And then I think there's even a few more. If you look up here, these 3 holes need to be drilled, and they are not, they just go right into the spar and the doubler. They don't have any holes on the doubler, so I'll figure out what size those are. I'll double check because they almost look a touch smaller, but we'll see if they're number 30 or 40 or maybe some oddball size. But that's gonna be the next step. she is. A lot of shavings, all the holes are drilled. And so we'll see what's next in the plans. Okay, so again, we have to basically do everything we've just done to the right side, but because I made 2 left front spars by accident, we have to wait on that. So where we're at in the plans is now, if we skip repeating for the right side, we're up to preparing the horizontal stab parts for assembly. So we mark them all, we disassemble. We got to go through and deburr all the holes. A lot of them are already done, but we got quite a few more to do, especially all the ones for the skin that I drilled not too long ago. So we'll have to go through and deburr all the holes in the skin and in the skeleton. I'll probably do that now. And basically I'll just save it for the right side, save the rest of the parts that I got to deburr for when I do the right side. But I'll get all the left side done. And then the next step will be dimpling the understructure using a pneumatic squeezer and then dimpling the rivet holes in the skins. Everything in the skeleton, as they call it in the plans, basically all the ribs in the front and rear spar, all the holes are deburred. I figured out rather than using that little hand tool and making my hands sore, I just hook the bit into the drill and just be very careful to go slow. I got the regulator on the compressor turned down quite a bit and it works real well. I'm gonna deburr that skin, but I'm not even gonna record it because this was plenty for you guys to see. I will update you when I'm done with that. Alrighty, same day, all deburring is complete. And the next step, according to the plans, is to dimple the skin and the understructure. So basically everything's disassembled. I'm kind of working backwards, but I have to. And these are 3 30-second dimples for the number 40 holes. So I'll get the camera set up, put it in the dimpler here, and just make sure that I dimple everything that needs to be dimpled and not stuff that doesn't. I got distracted looking into a service bulletin. I wanted to share with you guys, this is service bulletin 140131 for the RV6, 7, and 8. And basically, I'm pretty sure that they just have you install doublers here, and those are the doublers that come with modern kits, but the thing that I noticed that was funny is they actually give you all the dimensions for this cut that everybody's confused about. So if you're looking for the dimensions on that, go to here. Looks like that's it. Anyway, I'm just assembling some stuff and then I'll start dimpling in a little bit. I'm not going to waste time doing full time lapse on all the dimpling, but from the stuff that I've got done, and you all can see in that time lapse, that's what they look like. And as you can see, once you get it dimpled, the rivet sits in there flush. Now, this isn't actually where the rivet will go. It'll go in the skin and into this spar, but the spar has to be dimpled, otherwise the skin dimple won't fit. You know, it would protrude a little bit. So I'm going to finish doing the rest of this. Then I'll set the camera up when I do the skin. Well, I'm starting to get a bad track record. This is what a dimple's supposed to look like. And this is the one I just did. So the squeezer slipped a little bit. And if you look real close, you can see just a crack that has started to form. So I'm gonna have to order a new one of these. It's an $11 part, so it's not a huge deal, but that sucks. It's just delaying me. We'll get a new HS00706-1 on order. entire skin has been dimpled. I decided to do it with the blue stuff on. We'll see if that has any sort of effect. Some people say like you could have a metal shard underneath the blue stuff, and that could cause a fatigue crack over time with one of the rivets. But we'll see. To me, it looks fine. I tested the rivets. They sit in there real nice. So that's about it. I mean, the next step in the plans is to make sure all the edges of all the parts are smoothed, prime all the parts, and then we get to riveting the horizontal stabilizer. So I'm kind of at a standstill because all of this is done. I need to replicate it on the right side, and obviously you all know about my spar screw up, and now this other rib that I got to check out, I might have screwed up. So how this will probably work is I'll get started on the, since I'm assuming that'll take maybe 2 weeks to get here, I'm gonna get started building the vertical stabilizer, and I'll just make sure that I have this video out before I post the vertical stabilizer one. That way, everything's kind of in order of how you build it in the plans, even though the dates on when exactly I built the stuff won't align. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.